Hey everyone, this is Tukon from LeadSift here. Today I have with me Bill Wilson. Bill's the CEO and founder of Sales, right? Hey Bill, how are you doing?
Great. How are you? Thanks for
Pretty
having
good,
me.
thank you. So Bill, we have been recently chatting with a bunch of sales leaders and sales experts, asking them of their opinion of how they think salespeople should be prospecting and going about their day-to-day job in amongst this crisis and uncertainty. Given you are the CEO and founder of a company that plays in the sales space, um, as a CEO, my first question to you is, how are you coping with this whole situation?
That's a great question. For me, it's been like a lot of SaaS companies. Like we're set up for remote work.
Yeah,
So having the team working from home the first week seemed like normal, but there was so much happening. There was so much angst and so much just emotion
yeah,
and baked into everything. I think everybody had a pretty hard week, and I think that goes for everybody I've talked to across the board. Week
agreed.
two, which was last week for us, um, felt a little bit normal, felt pretty good.
Yeah,
The team got into a routine. We had our regular, we have some remote team members anyway, so we had our regular, weekly team call, things like that. Sprint review, sprint planning. The dev team got into more of a face-to-face video kind of stand-up because they weren't all in the same room. We're a
yeah,
small team. It's easier to have those conversations, so they moved
yeah,
to that. And our Slack game got a lot better.
fair enough.
Just
Yeah,
in general, and just I'm trying to check in with everybody and have those calls, video calls, and just see how everybody's doing. Just check in, because I think it's so. For me, it's really, really important. The team is everything, and I want to make sure that everybody has what they need. So if anybody needs home setup, whatever they need, like just tell me, we'll get it, or you just order it and we'll figure it out. I want people to be comfortable and able to work. And at the same time, the other big thing I think we've done is we've all just sort of relaxed on the idea that you might not get a full day in. Sometimes you just might not, because stuff's hard. Like I have a friend who has someone very close to them that is affected by this, and they died, and
wow.
that's terrible, right? So I mean, like, there's things this is touching everyone. So like you have to, those things come into it. And I think if everybody can just be human, when it comes to all that kind of stuff, and realize that the work has to get done, but we're in a unique situation. I think that's the biggest thing for me that we've changed, is sort of just having that empathy, I guess, for everybody's feeling the same kind of way, and we need to get through this together. So, being more flexible and allowing people to, choose their hours. Maybe there's just some things that are happening at home. If people have kids, they've got other things. Like, just be flexible.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah, I
that
think that's the
totally
biggest
makes
thing
sense.
for us. Mm-hmm.
We have also upped our Slack game. Zoom is the lifeblood, and Google Meet.
Oh
But
yeah, and Friday afternoon beers are fantastic on Zoom.
that's
Our
awesome. We
one,
have
we did
not
one on
done that.
Friday, and it did. We went from, I think it started around 5 o'clock, and I think the last few of us hung up around 11:30 p.m.
Oh wow, that
Yeah,
is
it was
very good.
great.
That is really good.
Yeah, it was a
It's
fun
better
time.
than in person, because you probably wouldn't hang out that late.
No, we wouldn't hang out that
I
long.
know. So that's very good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one question from a communication perspective. Are you communicating? Do you find yourself as a CEO that you have to communicate more just to, keep everyone relaxed, and because everyone is paranoid about the whole economy and the impact it has on business?
Mhm.
Are you changing anything from a communication perspective there?
Not really. I mean, I'm a very transparent CEO. Everybody knows what's happening
Yeah.
in the company in terms of like runway and
Yeah.
funding and all those types of things.
Hmm.
So none of that's ever been withheld. And I think that set us up to be in a pretty good spot with these
That's
things,
awesome.
because they know that I'll be very, you know, upfront about all
Yeah.
that when those things change.
Yeah.
If anything, we've definitely been talking to, as the government programs roll out and we're looking at, our own impacts and different things. We've definitely been talking to our staff about those things as they come
Yeah.
up. But yeah, generally, I think, we've been pretty open about everything, and I'm continuing to do that.
Awesome. That's great. So now my final question to you then is, as the CEO who works pretty closely with sales, and you have a clear line of sight at their revenue, what are some tactics that you are taking, given that you sell a sales tool that every B2B SaaS would need. What are some actionable steps or tactics that you are implementing to make sure your pipeline's still going?
So when all of this was coming down, our entire year was based on going to conferences. So that completely destroyed our strategy.
Yeah.
So we had to go back and figure out what we could do. So we've been looking at virtual conferences and things like that and just seeing how that's playing out. So that's sort of like that's simmering in the background. But we doubled down on our outbound efforts through LinkedIn. I can get into that in a second. So we do a lot of outbound work. We launched or are launching an email drip course around pricing and some other things that we're doing. And we are focusing more on being engaged in other people's events more than we would have before. So as opposed to just attending events, we're looking at, okay, cool, all these new virtual events are happening. They're all going to need sponsors. If it's not happening already, what are you doing and how can we participate? So those have been some big things. And I would say, the ones I hear the most about in terms of outbound, like people talk about, I've read several comments on LinkedIn from salespeople saying you shouldn't be outbound prospecting at this time. And I fundamentally disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not a jerk. I just believe that we all have things. If our tool was useful before COVID-19, it's probably useful during COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's just a different thing. There are certain groups, 100% of businesses that are suffering from this and that are probably not good targets to sell to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And ones that I would think normally you wouldn't, like for example, maybe healthcare. And I've had friends that sell to healthcare and they're telling me that their pipeline is filling up with healthcare. So I think it really just depends on, who your target is and what they're going through.
Yeah.
But largely the thing that I found that works the best is that, I don't know about you, but I'm tired, and I don't mean this in a cynical way, but I am tired of receiving COVID-19 emails
100%.
from SaaS companies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I get it. We're all hosted in the cloud. We all have super great partners that are going to make sure we're not down. Our teams are all working remotely. Yes, this is how SaaS works.
Yeah.
So we don't need another one of those. But so I think people are getting a little bit fatigued by that.
Yeah.
And I think harping on it too much in an outbound context
it's not going to help.
It's not helping.
And the worst is, sorry to interrupt, the worst is we are seeing companies trying to make a stretch connection between their tool and how it helps with the crisis and work from home. That's the worst. So,
especially if it's a stretch.
It's a stretch, right?
Our tool, naturally works for remote teams. It's just, we never designed it that way. It just does. So we're happy about that. We have definitely thought to ourselves, okay, now the fact that every single one of these sales bullpens are remote, like there's none of this over the shoulder stuff. What can we do? Like we definitely thought about those things. But the big thing I find is that getting on a sales call, getting on a demo, the first thing I talk about is like, how are you doing? Like, what's it like working from home? Like, do you usually work from home? Just some opener, just to acknowledge the situation we're in.
Yeah.
And then it's just
business.
Straight up business as usual talk tracks.
Awesome. No, this is great. Thank you so much, Bill.